Imagine this. Two small children vanish in separate incidents within 24 hours, both under the care of their mother, Catherine Hoggle. Jacob, just 2 years old, disappears first during what was supposed to be a quick trip for pizza. The next day, his sister Sarah, aged 3, is taken from their home. What follows is a baffling story filled with confusion, mental illness, and unanswered questions. This is not just a missing persons case, it's a story wrapped in a mystery, with twists that defy logic and might leave you questioning every detail. Join me for the strange and baffling story of the missing Hoggle children and the danger that surrounded them. In September 2014, police launched a search for two missing children, Jacob and Sarah Hoggle, after their father, Troy Turner, realized that they had been gone for days. Jacob was last seen on September 7th when Catherine Hoggle, their mother, borrowed her father's car and claimed she was taking him for pizza. She returned 3 hours later without Jacob, telling her parents he was at a friend's house for a sleepover. However, police later confirmed that Jacob was never at a friend's home. The next morning, on September 8th, Troy Turner, who worked night shifts, was awoken by his eldest son, concerned that his mother and siblings were not at home. Turner was unaware that Jacob hadn't returned the previous night. As Turner was speaking with 911 dispatch, Catherine arrived and said that she had left the children at a daycare center. But where were they really? Let me share some background about this story with you. In 2013, Catherine Hoggle was committed to Shepherd Pratt Health System, where she was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. After her release, she returned to live with Troy Turner, the father of her children. Fast forward to the events surrounding her children's mysterious disappearance. Once Troy learned that they were missing, he insisted that Catherine take him to the, quote, daycare that she said she left the children at that morning. While Turner was driving Hoggle around trying to find the children, she had him go to several different locations, each time not really remembering if that was the correct location. This search went on for hours. At one point, they even picked up their oldest son and continued to follow the directions that Catherine gave Troy, but never actually resulting in finding the correct daycare. As Troy's frustration with Catherine escalated, he knew that it wasn't healthy for their oldest son, who was in the back seat, to witness the ongoing tension between them. So, Troy contacted Catherine's mother, Lindsay, and asked that she watch the eldest while Troy and Catherine continued their search for the other children. Lindsay arrived about 10 minutes later and met them at their car. Initially, Catherine was apprehensive about letting her other son go with her mom. Troy calmed Catherine, and they continued the search. Soon, Catherine requested a stop at a fast food restaurant for a drink, claiming that her medication had made her drowsy. This wasn't an uncommon request, as Troy knew the medications Catherine was taking and understood that sometimes she needed a soft drink to stay awake. After getting their drinks and heading back out to the car, Catherine showed Troy her cup and said that she had already finished her drink and she wanted to go back in and get a free refill. Troy said okay, and he went to the car to wait for her. He quickly realized that it wasn't necessary to stand in line for a refill and that Catherine could go directly to the soft drink machine, and she was taking a long time. He decided to enter the fast food place to determine what was taking Catherine so long. When he got inside the place, Catherine was nowhere to be found. Troy searched the entire place, including both restrooms, but Catherine was gone. He immediately called the police, who were able to review the business's surveillance footage, which showed Hoggle sneaking out the back door and disappearing. Approximately 5 days later, she was found at a nearby apartment complex, where she had cut her hair and was recognized by someone as removing the posters with her picture and the children's photos on the poster. Catherine Hoggle was arrested and charged with child neglect, abduction, and hindering law enforcement. She was immediately sent to a psychiatric facility based upon her behavior. While in custody at the Perkins Psychiatric Facility, Hoggle claimed she had given the children to someone to keep them safe, but refused to disclose their location. Despite extensive searches over the years, Jacob and Sarah Hoggle remain missing. What do you think happened to the children if you had a guess? Search efforts for Jacob and Sarah Hoggle continued for years, but no trace of the children was ever found. Meanwhile, Catherine Hoggle's behavior at the Perkins Psychiatric Facility raised further concerns. In March of 2016, the Washington Post reported that Hoggle had tried to escape the facility at least 8 times, attempting to flee by grabbing a staff member's security badge and running towards the exit door of her locked unit. For years, the police maintained that Catherine refused to cooperate with their investigation. Prosecutors believed she was faking the extent of her mental illness. In 2017, Montgomery County prosecutors secured an indictment against her, charging her with 2 counts of first-degree murder in connection with her children's disappearance. The case appeared to be moving forward, but in December of 2017, a judge ruled that Hoggle was incompetent to stand trial and remained a danger to herself and others. Under Maryland law, authorities had 5 years to restore her competency before the charges would have to be dismissed. According to multiple studies, around 81% of defendants who are ordered to inpatient competence restoration are eventually restored to competency to stand trial. The median length of a stay for restoration is approximately 147 days, with a range of anywhere between 43 and 1,108 days. However, research on competency restoration for people with mental illness shows that 70% or more become competent within 6 months of starting treatment, and 9 out of 10 will be restored within a year. But this brings about an ethical dilemma for nurses and doctors. While they are expected to, quote, do no harm for each of their patients, is their ability to bring someone back to a place where the legal system will be able to punish the newly recovered patient truly medically ethical? Do some nurses and doctors believe that they are just fixing some people so that the government can punish them? Several family members have provided affidavits stating that Catherine is faking it because of her fear of being sent to prison. There is a medical term for what Catherine is doing, and it's called malingering. But medical professionals would have to agree that they also believed that this is what Catherine is doing. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened. Throughout all of this, Troy Turner, the children's father, expressed his belief that while Catherine was mentally ill, she was also faking incompetence to avoid responsibility. Determined to continue the fight, Turner remains committed to seeking justice for Sarah and Jacob. "This fight is not over for me and my family," Turner said to the Associated Press. "We're going to continue to pursue justice." Troy Turner, the father of Sarah and Jacob Hoggle, has been filled with outrage over the nearly decade-long disappearance of his 2 young children. Catherine Hoggle, their mother, has remained unable to face the murder charges brought against her due to state doctors repeatedly finding her mentally incompetent to stand trial. She's also sought to have those charges dismissed under Maryland law, which places a time limit on how long a defendant can be held in custody if they're deemed incompetent. Turner is deeply concerned, especially for the safety of his and Hoggle's eldest child, who suffers nightmares about his missing siblings. Turner has expressed fears that Catherine is manipulating the system to avoid responsibility, despite acknowledging her mental illness. He questions how the legal system could allow someone who took the lives of 2 children to potentially walk away free without ever facing trial. Catherine's attorney, David Felsen, in 2022 filed a motion to dismiss the charges based on this law, noting that 5 years had passed since she was found incompetent. While Felsen acknowledges that Hoggle is dangerous, he clarifies that the dismissal of charges wouldn't guarantee her immediate release, though it remains a possibility in the future. Do you think this is the right thing for the system to do? In 2022, Maryland Circuit Judge James Bonifant ruled to drop the murder charges against Catherine Hoggle. His decision was based on laws that date back to 1790, which limit the duration that criminal charges can be held over someone deemed mentally unfit for trial. Although the charges were dismissed, Hoggle remained confined in a psychiatric hospital under Maryland's civil commitment procedures. According to the Washington Post, Judge Bonifant cited Hoggle's diagnoses, which included schizophrenia, major depressive disorder, and generalized anxiety disorder, and noted her symptoms of impaired judgment, paranoia, and disorganized thinking. Troy asserts that Catherine is faking it and manipulating the system. He claims that the nurses at the hospital have reported that they know she is manipulating the system. They have even written to doctors at the hospital that she is doing this intentionally, but somehow she has been able to maintain her incompetent status. Troy further claims that she is almost brazenly faking her competency. Judge Bonifant emphasized that without the structure of a hospital setting, Hoggle would pose a danger to herself and others. As a result of the ruling, her confinement shifted from criminal charges to a civil commitment, meaning that circuit judges and prosecutors would no longer have direct control over when she might be released from the psychiatric facility. This legal shift placed her release under a different set of procedural guidelines that significantly limited judicial input into her future. As Catherine Hoggle's legal journey progresses, most records of her case have been cleared from the Maryland Judiciary Case Search, leaving a troubling uncertainty for Troy Turner. He worries that Hoggle could one day request release from her psychiatric commitment, a possibility he finds terrifying. With the right judge, she could walk, Turner expressed, envisioning the horrifying thought of her potentially becoming someone else's babysitter. Turner has been advocating for changes to the laws that have, in his view, protected Hoggle while blocking justice for his children. His mission is to fix what's broken as he continues to fight for answers. Although he logically believes that Hoggle killed Sarah and Jacob, the absence of their bodies has left room for doubt. Turner has yet to declare them dead, holding on to a sliver of hope that his children might still be alive somewhere. Montgomery County State's Attorney John McCarthy vowed to refile the murder charges if Hoggle were ever released from the psychiatric facility. Because of the details of the case and the fact that she was never actually placed on trial for the murders, she is not eligible under the protection of double jeopardy for murder, and there is no statute of limitations on murder. So, technically, she hasn't really escaped jail, just a prison incarceration. Troy Turner's life has been consumed by the mystery of his missing children, Jacob and Sarah Hoggle. For nearly a decade, he's been trapped in an agonizing struggle. Not only does he not know where they are, but he also faces the torment of knowing that their mother, Catherine Hoggle, is the one who's responsible for their disappearance. Let me share with you the crazy amount of questions I have about this case. How do you cope when the person who should protect your children is the one who took them? Catherine's mental state has complicated the search for answers. For years, she's refused to cooperate, leaving Troy and everyone else involved to wonder, Are the children out there somewhere, alive and waiting to be found? Or has the grim reality already come to pass? What would it take to finally break through to Catherine and uncover the truth? And what do you think happened to Jacob and Sarah? Could or should there still be hope? Or has Catherine buried the truth too deep to ever be revealed? Troy, our thoughts and prayers go out to you, your eldest son, and the rest of your family. I do hope that by keeping your story out in the public, that one day you receive the answers you so patiently have waited to receive, and that justice is properly served. Thanks once again for watching my video. My name is Vince. Would you please consider supporting my channel by either buying me a cup of coffee at my new Buy Me a Cup of Coffee link you can find below, or even treating yourself to some merchandise at my online shop. I truly appreciate your support. If you enjoyed this story, you might also enjoy the Kiara Lee Kosho story. You'll find the link to that story in the upper right corner of your screen. Thank you.